It is Monday morning. Rise and shine. Morning, morning, morning. It's Monday. Rise and shine. Good morning to you. I'm West 2 First Warning Meteorologist Eric Burris. This is Coffee Talk. We get together 7 days a week, chat about what's going on in the world of weather. Beautiful start to the day. And believe it or not, even though it was a nice and cool morning, we're headed to a warmer afternoon. And then we've got some weak fronts moving our direction. So there's a few things to chat about in the world of weather. But don't you worry, I got you covered. Let's take a look at temperatures across town this morning. Waking up currently to 57 in Orlando. It's 60 degrees in the Villages, 55 in Ocala. Tower Cam Network looking about as pretty as can be. I mean, look at how pretty that is. Is that the Canaveral Princess there on the Port Canaveral camera? Heading out for an on-time departure. Let's look. Let me bring it full screen. I think this is it. Let's bring it full screen. Loading. May, quick, load. Otherwise it's going to be gone. Yep, it's the Canaveral Princess. I feel like every time I show on Coffee Talk, they're out. They are an on-time operation there. That's pretty funny. All right, back to the Tower Cam collage, if you will. There we are. Orlando beautiful, Tavares looking good, Daytona Beach looking good. Spring break wrapping up for so many, though we'll go from this over to New Smyrna Beach. See what's doing there. Pretty morning at the beach? Yeah. I hope you all have had a great weekend. If you were enjoying spring break, hope you had a great spring break. Satellite and radar showing that while it's nice and quiet near us, we've got just a few clouds over top. There is a nasty little complex of storms kind of firing up to our north. So let's do this. Let's widen that shot out just a little bit. Let's get a look at that. Yeah, look at that front firing up, right? Yeah. Threat of severe weather for sure across the I-10 corridor today. Not going to make it to us as these fronts continue to weaken more and more as they arrive. But there's that threat of severe weather, basically from Louisiana all the way through to Tallahassee. It's a level 1 out of 5 risk for strong and severe storms. But when we look at that satellite and radar again, I mean, there's definitely some nasty weather up that direction. That does work our direction, okay? Eventually arriving here. So we're nice, toasty, warm. There's the storms north and west of us. That does start to work our direction, but it kind of falls apart. So we may see a sprinkle or so in our area, but don't get like overly concerned about things, right? So here's a look at kind of the overall setup for the day today. All right. We start off nice and cool, but through the day, those temperatures climb. 82 degrees by 1 o'clock, 85 degrees our high temperature. Looking pretty nice. We'll add clouds, and yes, there is even the potential of a quick passing shower. Let's take a look at our futurecast model to kind of zero in on that, okay? First off, here's a look at it this morning. Looking fantastic. Increasing clouds, though. This is lunchtime today, particularly north and west of town. An increase of clouds, maybe a sprinkle. Not really overly worried. Overnight tonight into tomorrow morning, mostly cloudy skies. Tomorrow morning, a passing shower possible. Plenty of clouds. And then into tomorrow afternoon, you'll notice, watch again. 1, 2, 3 o'clock. We'll squeeze out a little bit of moisture, right? As the sea breezes kind of get going. So it's not going to be a wild setup of rain with this front for us, just a couple of passing showers, though we need rain, right? But a 10% coverage of rain today. That's all we've got. Then for tomorrow, as the front really does kind of sneak into our zone, a 20% coverage of rain. Again, not a wild event by any stretch of the imagination. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, clearing skies. But notice we're not looking at really dropping temperatures. 80s the entire stretch. And then Saturday, Sunday, 83 and 86. So that's kind of where we're at. All right. Does that sound good? Questions, comments, concerns before we move on? Now, we are going to talk about rainfall deficits and all that stuff and just how badly we need the rainfall. But let's pause and just chat. Okay. Neon's channel on YouTube says, hopefully not too cloudy this afternoon. I want to see the rocket launch and booster return. Yes. So to that point, forecast for this afternoon, it's a National Reconnaissance Office. You know what that means? Top secret payload. 90% chance of good weather. The cloud cover is going to be the worry, right? The cloud cover is going to be the worry. And you had mentioned it. There is a sonic boom alert today. Depending on the wind direction and all that fun stuff, basically the eastern areas could see that. So it's going to be about 8.5 minutes after liftoff that we could get that sonic boom from the Cape Canaveral Space Force Station. So keep that in mind, my friends. Again, the launch window is around 2 o'clock, 1:48. So 8 minutes later, 1:48, 49, 50, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 50, 56, 30, 57, somewhere in that range. Could have twin sonic booms. Yeah, hopefully the clouds are not too cloudy so that we can all see the launch. It'll be fun. I love the amount of launches that we have here. Love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Oliver says, keep moving, people. Nothing to see here. That's right. Just top secret payloads. Nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Move along. Move along. Move along. Move along. Frank says, I had such a beautiful day yesterday. I rode over 13 miles on my bike, feeling very blessed. Frank, I love it. Your smile is something that I hope all of us can take in. I really do. Christy's asking, how far can sonic booms travel? You know, it depends on the wind speeds and it depends on the wind directions. So if we look at the wind direction, 2 p.m. today, with that breeze kind of coming in out of the southwest, it's not going to travel too far. Yeah. It's not going to be too much of a sonic boom opportunity inland. So for that point, yeah, we're not expecting many of us to get that. Kelly's asking, when are you going to space? Oh, all they have to do is ask. They don't have to ask me twice. Give me that opportunity, I'll go. Wouldn't that be a fun opportunity? I mean, for those of us that have a desire. Some people don't have an interest. Top secret. You know exactly what that is, bruh. Yeah, well, I suspect, I spy with my little eye. Yeah. We will hear it nice and loud here in Cocoa Beach, Sulin says. Yep, probably would. Lucas says hurricane season is just 69 days away. How about that? Are you ready? Are we ready? A reminder. I mean, why not? You mentioned it. So, a reminder, we have our hurricane season forecast. Wesh.com. Oh, that says tomorrow. It needs to get changed. Wesh.com. Hurricane season forecast is there. Shameless plug. Somebody mentioned. Shameless plug. All right. Thankfully, we're not to like boiling hot ocean temperatures yet. Beach forecast keeping temperatures in the kind of mid to upper 60s, right? Moderate risk of rip currents out there. Looking decent on the beach sand. Look at that. Lower 80s. I kind of like it. I kind of like it. Sounds good to me. Do you think there's a hurricane coming to Florida? No. It's March. I don't think there's a hurricane coming to Florida. Cindy, one day maybe. One day. All right. So we've got opportunities to see some showers the next couple of days. 10, 20% opportunities. So we're not going to see much. So to that point, let's talk a little bit about drought numbers. Keach-Byram Drought Index is a way to look at kind of moisture in the soil. Okay. Still doing okay, but we're starting to dry out more and more and more, right? The drought monitor, as we know, continues to be an issue. We are in a moderate drought, Orlando northbound. We are in a severe drought out west. Okay? So, yeah, something to keep in mind. And for the year, our drought numbers are building, right? 2, 3, 4 inches behind where we should be for rain opportunities. Debbie with the exclamation points, you calm down. I'm going to talk when I'm going to talk. With the front in Texas recycling, we'll get there. Let me just kind of tell my story. I'm just talking. We're just talking. We're getting there. That's long stuff. We always do the long range stuff at the end, if there's time. Doesn't matter how many red exclamation point. All you're gonna do is make me frustrated. These are my first sips of coffee. I didn't have creamer. I had to go to Publix this morning to get creamer. Ran out. I'm a feisty thing today. Blue Goose says this fire danger concerns me. I would simply add that this is always the dry season, right? The rainy season doesn't start. Hold on. There we are. All right. The wet season doesn't typically start until late May when the cold fronts stop arriving, which we're getting a cold front this week, so we're certainly not there. Daily sea breeze showers and storms begin, and low temperatures and dew points are in the upper range of the 60s. Clearly, we know we are not there yet. Low temperatures are not in the upper range of the 60s. So anyway, we've still got some time until we get into the rainy season. Topaz says cream reduces the health benefits of coffee. I don't drink. I don't do drugs. If coffee with a little bit of creamer is my vice, one should imagine I'm okay. And I don't put much creamer in there. And it's espresso, for goodness sake. I've never been a smoker. I've never done drugs. Never was really a drinker. If the worst thing I do is drink protein shakes and a little bit of creamer, I give Voltasmere. Debbie says I don't really want coffee without creamer in it. His drug of choice is weather. That's gonna be a new tagline. I feel like where's like the Keith Morrison like, he never did drugs, or did he? Coffee was this man's drug of choice, and it led him down a dark path. Oh. Oh man. I need more coffee before coffee talk. I do. Today I just didn't have any creamer, and I'm not man enough to have espresso straight black. I'm just not. Drink the creamer, drink the creamer. Yeah, Emily on YouTube. Drink the creamer. Ay, 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 ay. Sorry, I lost myself. I need to go to detention. Somebody else take over. Ah. Jenny, I just logged on. What am I seeing? I had an episode, okay? There's Tanya again with the Big Daddy. Ay, Gevalt. Ay, ay, ay. Jan says I drink coffee with cream so I'm awake and don't murder people. We need to give Jan all of her coffee with cream so she doesn't end up on Dateline. Oh, man. If I get crazy, I might add cinnamon to my coffee, but otherwise straight, strong coffee always. Look at you, Jeannie Rowan with the win. With the win. I like it. All right. I had an episode of frustration. Okay, so talking a little bit of long range now. Okay, grumpy butt this morning, but still love you. Thank you, Amy. We all have our days. We all have our days. No Dateline for Jan. Oh, I was there. All right. So talking long range, I was discussing yesterday with Jeremy this little weather pattern here. Is it Sarah? You know, that was kind of what we were discussing is kind of where are we at? It kind of fits into the Sarah time frame. So, you know, we have to watch and see how it's playing out. But yeah, so to answer your question, we're watching this. You know, we'll have to watch. Does any low pressure develop in the Gulf? You know, we'll have to watch it. But Jeremy and I were chatting about this yesterday. Is this the Sarah reflection, etc., etc.? So we'll have to look, you know. Ah, Lori says I'm funny this morning. I was feisty. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Ah, Pilone is a favorite of ours also. Yeah. Do you think any hurricanes coming to Florida this week? William, no. I said it. No. No. Don says, I love all the rabbit hole conversations we seem to go down, right? Yes. How he was trying to be nice one morning and bought me some coffee without creamer. He got an E for effort. So the answer to my question is maybe. Yeah, it's maybe. We have, this is one of those things that as, we're getting into the recycle. Okay. So, for example, I still need to go back and look and see, did Raphael kind of reoccur out in the Gulf? So it's one of those things that these are not home runs. Okay. These are not clear, easy recycles. So these are things to watch. So if that was Sarah, then we would then have Oscar coming anywhere from the end of March to early April, which is what I was discussing yesterday looking at the GFS around, the end of March into early April. So to that point, let's look and see if the GFS is still showing that. Okay. There's a third. So notice it's still showing something, but nothing like it was yesterday. Although there's an area of low pressure developing around the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Turks and Caicos around April 1st. Okay? So based on that, around April 1st, Oscar was Cuba, Bahamas, and then the Gulf. So interesting. That could be the Cuba, Bahamas reflection right there. Right? Which then April 3rd through 7th, there would have been a Gulf low. I don't see, maybe there. Nothing significant of a Gulf low, but that could be right here. Cuba, Bahamas, that could be right there. That probably is, frankly. That probably is Oscar right there. And that would be April 1st. Which makes sense. Which, if that's the case, then Sarah recycles the 23rd through the 28th. Right? So yeah, that all kind of does make sense. So if that's the case, then this is the Sarah part of the pattern. That Texas low. It's just a matter of looking and seeing if it all fits. Not only the pattern, but like the duration between pieces of that pattern. Yeah. So that's kind of so to answer your question, Chris, this is probably the Sarah part of the pattern. Okay. Betty says this is basically tornado season, I think. Yes, but it all ties into everything. Everything ties into these cyclical patterns, right? Shirley says, I've never seen weather like this in Florida. I don't know. It's spring. Lori is saying hurricanes recycle. So, Lori, welcome to Coffee Talk. So, the idea of this is a theory, okay? The idea behind this theory is that, yes, weather recycles. Yearly patterns set up, and essentially around October 10th, they set up and then they loop over and over and over and over again. It's a theory first discovered decades and decades and decades and decades ago. And then in recent times, Gary Lezak, who we've had on the program, has gotten into it. Some people in my field don't like it. Some people do. I like it. I use it as what's called a teleconnection. In other words, these patterns set up, and then they can kind of give you little hints as to what's to come. Okay, so there is a cycle, there is an order to the chaos, for lack of a better term, and that's one of the things that I use to put together my hurricane forecast, which you can go see on wesh.com. But essentially, yeah, there is an order to the madness, and we observe these things going through over and over and over again, and it gives us an idea of areas to watch for hurricane season, dates to watch for hurricane season. Okay, and yeah, so that's the idea. Okay, so if this is the Sarah from last year part of the pattern, then we're kind of on par for Oscar. I need to message Jeremy after coffee talk today to discuss what the GFS is showing for Oscar. Yeah. Kenneth over on YouTube, forgive me if this has been asked before. You're totally fine. Believe me, I've been asked the same question 7 times ludicrously sometimes. What pattern was the system that brought the snow to North Florida? I watched the hurricane forecast coffee talk and didn't see that system mentioned. So yeah, so Kenneth, that would have been another part of the pattern that maybe didn't yield tropics. So I'm just going to look in my phone and I'm going to look for pictures in Tallahassee. Tallahassee. So I was up there January 22nd. So that would have been March 4th. And then that day, 41 days after March 4th. 41 days after March 4th is going to be April 14th. So April 14th will be the next cycle of that part of the pattern. Don't expect snow in North Florida, but it's going to be another, decent little cold front. But again, I would say another thing to remember, that Lake Mary tornado, do you remember that? That part of the pattern cycles back around on or about the 20th, on or around 420. Okay. So around 420 is going to be a part of the weather pattern we know has yielded severe weather. So do the computer models go out to 420? They do not. But we can use another long range technique to look at the weather for 420. So let's do that. We call this the BSR. It's the Bering Sea rule, the Bering Strait rule. Okay. And for those of you new to Coffee Talk, I do like to use some unorthodox ways to look long range. Like it, don't like it. I don't really care. I use them just to kind of peer out. All right. So let's do this together. Okay. All right. Decent cold front and storm system right there. That's April 26th, 27th, 28th. April 26th, 27th, 28th. Let's look. That would be the Raphael part of the pattern. Which, give me a second. That part of the pattern there, April 26th, 27th, 28th, will recycle around. And this is an area that we had highlighted as the slow Gulf low. Yeah. So that lines up. Okay. So anyway, um, there's a lot to this. I would simply say if you have any interest in learning about our long range forecasting, it's all here. We try to be as transparent as is possible. So yeah. Chris says technically everything recycles, but we only focus on tropical systems. Correct. But once we find little more impactful parts of the pattern, we can at least eyeball it. So like that April 20th area of low pressure, definitely one that we're watching. Okay. When does hurricane season start? June the 1st. And of course, we've got our list of hurricane names for this year. The first one will be Andrea, but yeah, June the 1st. The National Hurricane Center starts putting out updates on May the 15th daily. And of course, Phil Klotzbach has announced that he's putting out his hurricane forecast, his first hurricane forecast in just a few weeks. Of course, the WESH hurricane forecast is already out. This is what Jeremy and I have put together. The average season is 14, 7, and 3. We're expecting an above average number of named storms, above average number, above average. Y'all are never going to say below average. We have. Okay? But anyway, these are our numbers. Curious to see what Phil Klotzbach puts together. We'll see what they say. Okay? All right, let's see here. You forgot the fact that it's like 96% accurate. Last year was 83 to 85, I believe. But yes, point received. Point received. Terry says the patterns have been right on so far. It's like nothing. It's not perfect, but we do the best we can. Lori says, so they recycle for a year. Still trying to learn. Been quietly watching you since we moved here in 11/23. Well, first off, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, so the idea is October 10th-ish. New pattern sets up, and then they loop until the next October 10th. Yeah, so that's the idea. I should know this, but what's typically the recycle time frame? Every year is completely different. This year we're looking at about 41 to 43 days, somewhere in that range. Mid to late April will be the busy part of the pattern. Yes, seemingly this year it's a quicker cycle, which is why our numbers are a little higher for the tropics. Which is why, yeah, we're kind of, yeah, mid to late April does look to be pretty active. Matt says unorthodox but effective. Peer-reviewed papers have come through before. I talked to Gary last week. He's going to try and work on another paper, and I asked what I could do to assist. So we'll see. Lori, I really need to be more consistent. There is zero stress coming from me. You do not need any more stress in your life. Your job when you're here on Coffee Talk is to hang out, hopefully have a good time, learn a little bit, ask some questions, but there is zero concerns. I am not going to pressure you to be more consistent hanging out here, for goodness sake. When you can, come. When you can't, don't. That's all. You know? Chris is asking, is that the Colorado State University? Yeah, Phil Klotzbach pens the Colorado State University forecast, yes. If you could just tell me when it's going to hit my house, laughing emoji. Cent latitude. Yeah, Jeannie Rowan. Yeah, I'll do the best. Will you do a graphic on what to do if caught in a rip current? I want to show my grandbabies. All right, so Amy, this is for you. We have that. All right, so this is going to be for you. So, rip currents. First off, let's talk a little bit about rip currents. All right. With the water temperatures warming, rip current. So you can record this. Here, I'll even give you a second. I'll start full screen. I'll give you a countdown. All right. Give you 5 seconds. I'll give you a few seconds to hit the record button so you can show this to your grandbabies, Amy. I'll wait. I'm going to take a sip of coffee and I'll wait. We're going to do a rip current. Anybody that wants to learn rip currents, hit the record button on your phone. All right, we should have had time. I'll give you because it's like it takes 5 seconds to start the recording. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. So hi, I'm meteorologist Eric Burris. We're talking rip currents. All right. So first off, when you hear a rip current, what is that? Not a rip tide. A tide cycles with the moon. That's not the case. A rip current is a current of water that pulls away from shore, and even the strongest swimmers can be pulled out to sea. So the easiest thing to remember is always swim near a lifeguard, right? Remember this. Waves come in, right? And they're beautiful. But what comes in has to go back out. So essentially what a rip current is it's a deeper channel of water. So for example, if you're at the beach here, and if you look, do you see how there's a darker channel there? You see that? That's the rip current. You can usually spot that. But essentially the idea is, yes, as the breeze comes in, there's sandbars that build up, and then there are channels between those sandbars. And that's the rip current. So if you find that you're getting pulled out to sea and you have no way to know how to get out, the first thing you remember, do not panic. Panicking will cause you to exhaust yourself, and once you do so, you will not be able to recover. But if you find yourself, you're just swimming along and you find yourself getting pulled out to sea in a rip current, even an Olympic swimmer can be susceptible to this. You cannot fight that outward rushing of water. It will not work. All you have to do, swim parallel. So watch again, right? Swim parallel to shore, and you'll get out of that rip current and you'll be able to swim in no problem here. But in this zone, you will not succeed. You will not succeed. That's why rip currents are so deadly. You will not succeed, okay? It's very important to know this. Swim parallel to the shoreline. If you feel that you're getting pulled out, swim parallel to the shoreline. That's all you do. That's all you do. That's all you do, okay? And these numbers don't lie. Okay. Well, these might because these are old. But essentially, usually, all right, so ignore the this year, last year because I don't know that these are updated. But the idea is 20 to 30 people on average-ish in the last couple of years die in Florida. 7, 8-ish die in Central Florida beaches because of rip currents. Okay? But those numbers don't lie to the sense that people lose their lives. Don't let it be you, okay? All right, that's enough about rip currents. If you're recording, go ahead and stop because that's creepy. 3, 2, 1. Okay. All right, back to regularly scheduled programming. Tanya says, Eric, I can see you surfing. I don't know that I could get up. Almost. Let's see here. How come every time I make a comment on here, a catfisher messages me later saying I look good? And I know that's a lie and a scam. Brent, I think you look good. Also, I can't control catfishers, so, sorry. I try to go through and delete these putzes, but it is what it is. What record button? My phone is smartphone, not me. Not even doing my set. So, Betsy, it's there. It's on the Coffee Talk, so you can come back to it and check it out. So there's that. Okay? Terry says, thanks, Eric. I always learn something new every day. That's the idea. That's the idea, right? We all want to learn every single day. At least that's the way I live. Quietly stops my creepy recording key. I like to tease. What can I say? Thanks for the rip current lesson for those of us who are new to ocean swimming. Of course, Carol, and even if you're not new, maybe you just don't know. That's all. That's all. So little chance of rain today and tomorrow heading to the parks. Yeah, it'll be good. Yeah. This is the best explanation I've ever gotten in my whole life. Oh, Lori, that's quite a statement. I guess I never understood exactly how the current worked before. Thank you so much. Of course. Of course. It's one of those things that once you learn about it, it's not scary at all, right? I mean, I'm not going to go out on like a day that has a high risk of rip currents. I'm not going to go out that far just because I don't want to deal with that. But like on a day like today where there's a low to moderate threat of rip currents, okay, so I start to get pulled. I'm not going to get scared. Just start rolling. Roll and swim parallel to the shoreline. But also, cheap insurance is swim at a guarded beach, right? That's the easiest way to look at it. All right? All right. I think that's all I got for you. Okay? Patty says some rips are so strong it makes it hard to even swim parallel to shore. Not panicking is urgent important? Yeah, not panicking is key. If it makes it hard to even swim parallel to the shoreline, even if it's a diagonal and you're getting pulled away, and just keep swimming as parallel as you can. But if it's that strong, Patty, should you be in the water? On days like that, odds are we're giving you the note that there's a high risk of rip currents, to which you shouldn't be in the water at all. Yeah. How close do rip currents come to shore? I mean, wherever there's a sandbar, you look for the sandbar and it's the channel between the sandbars. Barb says, we need to have Erica explain all our questions. I try. I can't be perfect. All right. Got a beautiful stretch of weather. I might have to hop in the pool today. Do a little bit of chores, do some chores, do the pool. Sound good? I like it. All right. Be the sunshine in someone else's day. Sound good? I'm working tomorrow. I don't think I'm doing any newscasts tomorrow. I know I'm doing newscasts on Thursday and Friday. Yeah. All right. Thank you all. Take care. Be the sunshine in someone else's day. Bye.